Welcome to the WIHS Journal. Matt Harper with you, and in studio as our guest today is Pastor Michael Skarda, pastor of Redeemer Lutheran Church in Lebanon, Connecticut. Pastor Skarda, welcome to WIHS.
Yep, thank you for having me.
We love building relationships with pastors and ministry leaders in Connecticut. People like you are on the front lines. You're the ones making an impact in people's lives day to day, sometimes in the things that are very difficult, walking people through the greatest tragedies and joys in life. Where would we be without our pastors? So first of all, let me just say thank you for answering God's call, and thank you for shepherding people right here in Connecticut.
I greatly appreciate, coming over to Connecticut, serving God's people here in the great state of Connecticut.
You have a pastor's heart, and I know God's using that with the church family there at Redeemer Lutheran in Lebanon. Related to your call, why don't we just start by giving our listeners the chance to get to know you a little bit? Take a couple minutes and just tell us your story. How did you come to faith? How did you end up getting that call to ministry and eventually being right here in Lebanon, Connecticut down the road?
Yeah, so my parents, they met down in Texas. I was born down in Texas, right? My faith really started at the church down in Texas. I was baptized. We went there. We went there for a few different years, and then my family had to move up to New Hampshire for my dad's job. We started to go over to my home church up in Nashua, New Hampshire. It was a joy to always grow up going to Sunday school, Bible study, VBS, great youth events. It was a joy to spend much of my childhood growing up in the church there. Then the call to ministry, right, I was maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say 8 years old because I don't remember a precise year, but I was in a service. I thought, hey, I think that would be something cool if I could go and maybe be a pastor one day. Then I remembered that also means that I have to do some public speaking, and that kind of scares me. I didn't want to be in front of everyone, so I shut that down for maybe 20 years or so. Fast forward 20 years, or how many years ago that would be at this point, but let's go with a few years back. My parents recommended that I go and speak to, at that point, the two pastors at my home church. Coincidentally, they also wanted to grab a lunch with me and try and tell me, hey, you should consider going into the ministry. So it was a kind of a good little convergence of, I was kind of flanked on both ends to go and have the same conversation, which was good. Learned about the program at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Visited the campus. I loved the worship there, right? The classes, they were great. I loved spending time with the professors and making some good connections over at the seminary. Later on, I had to go through the application process. We had to go over, right, learn. So at the seminary there, it's always like a good pastoral formation where it's not just I go over, I do some classes, I get, not like a math, right, a calculator, right? You do some pluses and minuses and you hit equals and there we go. The out product is you got a pastor, there you go, ship them off somewhere. But it's kind of like a good pastoral formation for us to be formed into the faith so that we could go out and preach the word, right, serve God's people. So it's always good to lean on God's word. It was always a good privilege to try and step into the biblical languages of Greek and Hebrew, and if they were a bit of a struggle at times. We might have been chewed out a little bit of, hey, you got to do better for the translation, but that's fine. It was good.
You survived.
Yeah, it was definitely a struggle at the time, but it was also a wonderful thing, right? You could
Sure.
learn Greek to study God's word to how we can more accurately preach the gospel to our members. So
I like the part of your story where you said that God used your parents and other spiritual leaders in your life to affirm his call on your life. That's not unusual. And at such a young age, the people God put in your life for spiritual formation saw something in you. And there was a desire in your heart.
Yeah.
And of course, you had to surrender to that. Any regrets that you surrendered to God's call?
Nope.
Good answer. Good answer. And I knew what you were going to say. That pastor's heart I mentioned a few moments ago doesn't just happen by accident.
Yeah.
You've allowed God to nurture and grow that. The people at Redeemer Lutheran Church are blessed to have you as their pastor. So we've got a few minutes left. Tell our listeners about your church. What can they expect on a Sunday morning? First of all, what time are services? And then if they show up as a visitor, what's it going to be like?
Yeah, so Sunday services, always 9 a.m., followed by Sunday school starts at 10:30. We also have a Wednesday evening service at 6:30 p.m. It's always a nice little familial group, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great for visitors. Also, if someone has a very irregular work schedule, it's always a good time. If you can't make it on Sunday, hey, perhaps we could make it on Wednesday evening at 6:30.
Right.
As well as the one time change with that is for Lent and Advent and the other special evening services like Holy Week services, right? Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving service, those would be at 7 p.m. And Lent and Advent midweek services, they're all at 7 p.m. And then we have a choir practice after actually.
And do you sing in the choir?
I do, yes.
I knew it. I could
choir,
tell by the look in your eye.
The choir always needs more men to sing in the church, especially more so in choir.
That's not unusual
Yeah.
that the pastor steps in to help in that way. You mentioned before we turned on the microphone that something special once a month is that service where you do a hymn sing.
Oh,
and people
yeah.
can request their favorite hymns to be sung. I love services like that. I think that's a neat opportunity. So that's once a month? Is that the last Sunday of every
so
month?
it is the last Sunday of the month. To start off the service, kind of have it. I guess it's the people's choice of hymns.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this nice little. They can pick out the hymn that they would like to sing. We sing one verse. We go over to the next person, and they can have the opportunity to perhaps sing a hymn that, hey, we haven't sung in a while. Got a good little reminder for me to put it back into the repertoire. So
These interviews always go too fast,
Yeah.
and we don't have enough time. But with the time remaining, take 30 seconds or so. Let our listeners know where you're located, what's the church address, the website, even the phone number, how they can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about Redeemer Lutheran Church in Lebanon.
Yep. So I'm Pastor Michael Skarda, pastor at Redeemer Lutheran Church in Lebanon, Connecticut. So the church is on 321 Village Hill Road. In other words, it's at the north end of 289 Beaumont Highway. You can reach me at 860-423-4320 or my email at mskarda@rlclebanon.org.
Pastor Michael Skarda, Redeemer Lutheran Church in Lebanon, thank you for joining us today at WIHS.
All right. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
This has been Matt Harper with the WIHS Journal. The WIHS Journal is a community news and public affairs program highlighting regional current events and topics of interest, and can be heard Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 12:13 p.m. and 5:50 p.m. right here on your station for hope and encouragement, 104.9 WIHS.